FBI agents have arrested two men who worked in Afghanistan for the company formerly known as Blackwater. The indictment handed up by a federal grand jury charges each man with 2 counts of second-degree murder and includes several weapons charges. The arrests stem from the shooting deaths of 3 Afghan men in Kabul last May.
These 2 individuals were not working for the CIA. They were not security operatives guarding U.S. diplomats. They were there to train Afghans, and they were off duty, and they were driving in their vehicle, and they had their weapons on them. And there were allegations originally that some of the men in this 4-person Blackwater vehicle had been drinking alcohol, although the men deny that.
Now, this is not the first time Dratliff has been arrested. Court records show he's been arrested for more than a dozen charges, and he pleaded guilty to several of them, including DUI, disturbing the peace, and trespassing.
The Afghan government could have made an argument that these men should have been handed over to the Afghan legal system to face charges that they murdered or killed Afghan civilians. But the fact that they were allowed to leave the country, I think, is a pretty clear indication of who actually is in charge in Afghanistan. The fact that these men were able to leave military jurisdiction and leave ultimately the jurisdiction of the United States government is part of a pattern where the United States allows these private forces essentially to flee the scene of a crime. Following the Republican-led and unfortunately Democrat-supported attack against Acorn, Representative Alan Grayson of Florida came up with the idea of putting forward a Defund Blackwater Act that would seek to deny federal funds to organizations that engage in the kind of conduct that prosecutors allege took place in Afghanistan. The other significant piece of legislation that's going to be introduced soon in the Congress comes from Representative Jan Schakowsky, who, of course, is on the Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence. She is reintroducing her Stop Outsourcing Security Act, which seeks to ban Blackwater and other private contractors from engaging in what she considers to be inherently governmental functions. And of course, carrying a weapon on behalf of the U.S. government abroad, Schakowsky considers to be an inherently governmental function. The individuals who are accused of murdering these 2 Afghan civilians were there in a training capacity to train the Afghan armed forces. The Obama administration is proposing expanding dramatically the U.S. training of Afghan forces, meaning that we're going to see more Americans on the ground in Afghanistan justified as military trainers. And I fear and I predict that we're going to see more of these incidents involving these trainers when they engage with Afghan civilians and decide that a car is too close to them, and so they shoot at it, or someone's looking at them suspiciously and they shoot at that individual. We're going to see more of these Blackwater types on the ground in Afghanistan as part of a parallel surge to the combat forces.